We were born to love, not hate. We can decide our fate and look for the good in everyone. Celebrate all our mistakes, and there's a silver lining, silver lining. Still have to find it, find it, find it. Look for the good in everything. Look for the people who set your soul free. It always seems impossible until it's done. Look for the good in everyone. Everyone needs sunshine. Everyone needs rain. Everyone is carrying around some kind of pain. I see who you are. You're just like me. I see you searching for a purpose, yeah, guided by a dream. See who you are. I'm just like you. I get lost sometimes and I forget what I came here to do. I keep on trying. When it gets frightening, 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 look for the good in everything. Look for the people who will set your soul free. It always seems impossible until it's done. Look for the good in everyone. Everyone is nature. Everyone is God. Everyone is love and light and vibration. Look for the good. Look for the good. Everyone gets mad sometimes, and maybe they should. Look for the good. Look for the good. Yeah, look out for all the heroes in your neighborhood. Look for the good. I said look for the good. Life sure would be sweeter if everybody would. Look for the good in everything. Look for the people who will set your soul free. It always seems impossible until it's done. Look for the good. Look for the good. Look for the good in everyone. Yeah, yeah.
I'm seeing good by means of you right now. What a great instruction for us as we start our day, right, James?
And for me.
Yeah, for me as well, especially in this very moment. So it's a great honor to have you with us here at the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles this Sunday morning, Mr. James
Great
Harper.
honor to be here as always.
So great to have you here. I know you've got some other stuff planned for us today, as well as we have a wonderful guest artist, Faith Rivera, with us today. So it's going to be a beautiful service honoring Memorial Day. So thank you for being here, and I look forward to seeing you in just a bit when we do our morning ritual. So thank you. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming James Harper as our music director today. I'm Reverend Dr. Keith Cox, and it's my pleasure to be with you and my honor to be with you here on this Memorial Day weekend in the year 2021. As James said, you join us in this virtual space known as the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles. Let's all just take a deep breath in and exhale and anchor ourselves into this communal time together that's being provided for us through the power of the divine as well as technology, the coming together of the modern world and that infinite existence of the energy that exists by means of you and by means of me. We are a spiritual-based community that comes together and have for well over 30 years now in the land of Los Angeles. We've come together on Sunday mornings as well as during the week to be able to take a breath and to anchor ourselves in community, but to also to remember, as the song that James was singing to us, to remind us to look for the good in everyone and everything, no matter what may be going on in our world and in the world. And so I invite you to let that be your charge and your invitation as we move forward in this time together today, as I put on the screen our opening components of our slides today that just remind us that spring is definitely here and in the air, even though that we are about to kick off the unofficial kickoff to summer this weekend through Memorial Day. That as a community known as the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles, our objective here is to fulfill our vision statement, which is supporting individuals finding their personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening. Today, it's my objective to provide a space for all of you, as well as us, to do that together so that we each find a greater sense of personal self-empowerment through this spiritual awakening, this remembrance of who we are. And so, as a community that comes together and continues through the month of May in the year 2021, I invite us all to stop right where we are, to engage in the act of Namaste, which is the Sanskrit word and act of the divine, the power, the light, as shown on this activated visual on the screen. That the light within me honors and acknowledges the light within you. And so let's all put our hands together in prayer position and raise them to our third eye chakra as we acknowledge that, bowing forward. Please repeat after me. The light, the power, the energy, the source of all within me, honors and acknowledges the light, the power, the energy, the source of all life within you. Namaste. And so, as I've said earlier, we are a community that's come together for over 30 years to practice primarily the teachings of Dr. Ernest Holmes through the science of mind, but other related New Thought teachings. And the essence of these teachings are that there's only one energy, one life force, one thing taking place in life. It's the thing itself, life. And that expresses itself, this power, whether we call it source, the thing itself, God, you, me, through you and through me, through all expressions of life itself. And that you and I, as beings of mind, the one mind of God expressing itself through us, we have the ability to act and to react and to think and to engage in this power through our thoughts, beliefs, and our actions, our reactions in life itself. And because we live in a universe that is governed by spiritual law, the very things that we think and act and react upon give us the opportunity to make a difference in life itself, not only our lives, but life itself and all that we encounter, whether we're consciously aware of our encountering them or not. In other words, our actions, our reactions, our interactions, our thoughts, our beliefs, all have a ripple effect. They go out into the universe and touch all that are out there. We know that just by simply the way that we've lived our life, as well as knowing the ripple effect of the impact that we have on our planet. It's showing up today. And so let's use that as a remembrance to continue to be on this journey in a more awakened manner than ever before of finding our personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening. And let today be a day where we choose to reflect on all that has transpired for us to be where we are today, and to choose gratitude in the sense of remembrance and memorializing what has taken place for us to get where we are today. We open our service every Sunday morning with a ritual. This ritual is called Calling in the Light. And so, as we've already honored the light that exists within you and within me through our ritual, through our Namaste, we shall continue that through the ritual of calling in the light, and continuing to anchor ourselves as we focus on the purple orb of light on the screen. Just continuing to breathe and become ever more aware of the light that exists within. And hear these words anew. Today we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples and all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence which we call spirit. The purpose of this ritual is to draw into our gathering this morning a conscious awareness of our oneness and the qualities that we possess as complete expressions of the divine. And so as we continue to feel the vibrations shift during this experience of our time together and this ritual, may we become ever more aware of the light of life that exists in and as all expressions of life. This includes you, and it includes me. On this Memorial Day, this time when in the United States of America we remember those that have fought and lost their lives so that we may continue to experience freedom. Let's remember that Memorial Day is the day that is set aside to remember with gratitude and pride all those who served and died for our country and our freedom. And so may your day, each one of our days, be filled with memories and peace. Last week we used a wonderful Apache Blessing to open our service. And today I would like to continue that so that we may hear this anew and remember those that have walked before us. May the sun bring new energy by day. May the moon softly restore you by night. May the rain wash away your worries, and may the breeze blow new strength into your being. May you walk gently through the world and know its beauty all the days of your life. In our philosophy, faith, and way of life known as the teachings of the science of mind, we affirm together that when we use the words may the sun, it's not necessarily in a statement of asking. It's an affirmation. And so I invite each of us to know the totality of this prayer of may the sun bring you new energies by day, may the moon softly restore you by night, may the rain wash away your worries, and may the breeze blow new strength into your being. May you walk gently through the world and know its beauty all the days of your life. That we not only affirm this, not in an act of supplication, but through an act of acceptance, of receiving, and of believing. And so I invite you, where you are in your private environment right now, to say out loud, this Apache Blessing, I accept, I receive, and I believe. And so continuing our morning ritual, we will sing the song, Calling in the Light, that James will take us on the journey of. It's a call and response song, and the lyrics for us and our part is on the screen.
Calling in the light, calling in the light, calling in the light of love, calling in the light.
And so I affirm for each of us that we are aware of the light that is present within us, that we appreciate the opportunity to choose to see good in life no matter what's going on. We take a moment and appreciate this beautiful rendition of the song Calling in the Light, as it makes an imprint on our soul and our consciousness in a way that reminds us that we're always at choice. The ability to see that light, to know that we are peace and we are power, and that we let the sun shine on our face. Even if we don't see it or feel the sun, we know it deeply within us. Life is good, and we are indeed good in it, as we say together. Amen. And so it is. Thank you, James. And thank you to all of you. And I want to continue to say how much I'm happy to choose good in every situation. Technology is acting in a very funky and unique way this morning. We were having challenges getting on Facebook, and so we've still been unable to do that. If you're now joining us through our Zoom link and you had been on or attempted Facebook, know that you're welcome. A big welcome to all of you, no matter where you may be joining us from. And then in the middle of our visual presentation there of the lyrics for Zoom, the computer that runs those decided it needed an update. And so isn't that just the nature of life? That there's always something showing up that can throw us off our game. But once we are anchored in knowing who we are as divine beings, that we have the opportunity to recreate a state of mind through our thinking and believing, then things can look different. Things can look different. And so I know I personally appreciate the opportunity to be able to remember that and act accordingly. Speaking of light, we have a being of light who is our guest musician this morning, who is joining us from Hawaii. Her name is Faith Rivera. She's going to turn her camera on and her microphone on in a moment and say hello. Hi, Faith.
Aloha, Rev Keith.
Aloha, Faith Rivera. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles. It's so wonderful to have you with us again today.
I feel the same way, and I love how you say it's all a teaching, right? That's all we're doing here is deepening, learning, and practicing what you preach so brilliantly. So
Thank you.
it's my
Thank you.
gratitude to be here with you.
Thank you. Well, what's your first song that you're singing for us, Faith?
Oh, you know what? It is inspired by Ernest Holmes, that very thick book, if any of you have read it, Thing Called Life. not, not to say that this song condenses it all, but it really shares what it meant to me, this idea that life is for us. No matter what shows up, we understand that that spirit of good and God, what James sang, that good is always there for us. So this is Thing Called Life.
Fantastic. Take it
Yeah,
away.
here we go. Today is the day I will change my luck. I will find 3 pennies and there'll be hands up. I will walk like a queen in my tennies and jeans, 'cause I know where I come from. From the stars and the sun, from that magical one, I am part of this thing called life. Yeah. From the known to unseen, everything in between, I am part of this thing called life. I am loved by this thing called life. Today is the day I'll remember to see only God, only good happening through you and me. I will not forget all the treasures due me, 'cause I know where I come from. From the stars and the sun, from that magical one, I am part of this thing called life. Yeah. From the known to unseen, everything in between, I am part of this thing called life. I am one with this thing called life. Yeah, today is the day I'll be more of myself, love my skin, where I've been, and everyone else. No more push, no more pull, simply flow as I go, 'cause I know where I come from. From and the sun, from that magical one. I am part of this thing called life. Yeah, from the known to unseen, everything in between. I am part of this thing called life. Yeah, from the stars and the sun, from that magical one. I am part of this thing called life. Yeah, from the known to unseen, everything in between. I am part of this thing called life. I am one with this thing called life. I am loved, oh, so loved by this thing called life.
Oh, yes. What a beautiful song, what beautiful lyrics, and what a beautiful way to honor Ernest Holmes and the book, This Thing Called Life. Thank you, Faith. You're such a gift. Such a gift. Love you. See you in a bit. I am one with this thing called life. That's something that's important for each of us to remember every chance that we get, that we're loved and one with this thing called life. We're here on Memorial Day in the year 2021, and I'm sure many of us never thought that we would still be joining in this forum, in this format, but we are. And what a blessing it is to still be able to come together. And even though things in the world are changing in a way that it won't necessarily be required to always be through technology, that's where we are today. Memorial Day. We hear it often. Happy Memorial Day. I had someone say it to me this week. I hope you have a happy Memorial Day. And in hearing this greeting or well wishes from someone, I began to wonder and to contemplate, given the reason or the purpose of this legal holiday and the meanings behind it, and is it really appropriate to use the term happy for Memorial Day? Is that the right adjective to use in addressing its purpose, the day, or our state of mind or being while reflecting on the reason for this particular holiday, Memorial Day? For Memorial Day is an American holiday observed on the last Monday of May, honoring the men and women who died while serving in the U.S. military. Originally known as Decoration Day, it originated in the years following the Civil War and became an official federal holiday in 1971. Many Americans observe Memorial Day by visiting cemeteries or memorials or holding family gatherings, which is happening this year now after it didn't last year, and even potentially participating in parades. And unofficially, it marks the beginning of the summer season. I remember taking back to my childhood at Jonesboro Junior High School, the first summer that I had the opportunity in playing in the band, to be in the band as we played a memorial concert at the gravesite of many Confederate soldiers who had lost their lives. And it prompted within me a memory and memories of the years of Memorial Day. And really, what does it mean? What is the purpose of this day? Well, the Civil War, as I just spoke of, which ended in the spring of 1865, claimed more lives than any conflict in U.S. history and required the establishment of the country's first national cemeteries. And by the late 1860s, Americans in various towns and cities had begun holding springtime tributes to these countless fallen soldiers, decorating their graves with flowers and reciting prayers. And as I said, I would participate in that in a block of time in my childhood. But it's actually really unclear exactly where this tradition and the term and the act of Memorial Day originated. Numerous different communities may have independently initiated these memorial gatherings, but many records show that one of the earliest Memorial Day commemorations was organized by a group of formerly enslaved people in Charleston, South Carolina, less than a month after the Confederacy surrendered in 1865. In pondering this and thinking of this, it certainly stirred up within me that here we have a group of people who had been formerly enslaved. And the way the story is told and written is that they not only worked to honor these individuals, often most of them Confederate soldiers, but that they actually helped move their bodies to a more sacred and safe site for them to be placed in for the remainder of their physical realm on this earth. And I thought of how incredible for these individuals who had lived such a horrific life and had such a horrible experience, as we all know, due to slavery. And yet, the story of what has transpired in America really has not told the true narrative of how this came to be, or certainly isn't the focus of what this holiday is about. And it's not to take away from those that fought and lost their lives in any of the wars that prompted us to be where we are today. But what it gave me the opportunity to reflect on and see from a new perspective, which is one of the things we talked about last week, and the theme of today is the day, to begin to wonder where else in life has a story been whitewashed, if you will, in the sense that all the facts are not there. And so therefore our perspective on what is true has been skewed. And so today I invite you and I to begin to see anew, to begin to create a new story in our country in regards to this holiday of Memorial Day, not discounting anything from the past, but to begin anew. As James sang of earlier, if we have the opportunity to choose to see good in life right now, as Faith reminded us that we're one with this thing called life, to commit and covenant today to stop and honor all of those who battled and gave their life for the life that we have today, whether that was actually in a commissioned war or not. To just take a moment to inhale and exhale blessings and gratitude for all that lost their lives so that we may have the life that we have today. And to then ask ourselves, is the well wish of Happy Memorial Day appropriate? I'm not going to give you the answer to that right now, but I think it's important for us to ponder that. As contemplative beings, we have the ability to hold numerous ideas in our mind, our head, and our being at one time. The traditional definition of happy is feeling or showing pleasure. I'm not saying that we need to feel or show pleasure in regards to any event or the suffering that anyone experienced that transpired so that we may be here where we are today. But the other definition of the word happy is to be fortunate, which means that one can gain fortune from experience. I'm not talking about fortune in the context of material goods. I'm looking at it in the context of being fortunate means that we've been prosperous. If you look at the definition of fortunate, it also looks at having experienced unexpected good. And you and I both know that in this teaching and philosophy and faith and way of life known as the science of mind, and having learned through this thing called life, that we get to experience that which is termed unexpected good as a result of us creating a framework in mind of knowing that good exists and we are one with it. So in as much as it shows up as unexpected good, it's actually not unexpected because it's a reflection of a state of consciousness that we have declared is ours. And so therefore the law of life brings back to us an experience that is reflective of that state of mind. And so it may be unexpected in the way that we haven't sat down and treated for a new car, which we shouldn't be treating for anyway. It's for the consciousness of dependable and reliable and very chic and glamorous transportation. But I'm sure you guys all follow what I'm saying, is that we're not seeking out to have good or fortune as a result of tragedy or heartache or suffering or indignation, which took place in the horrors of slavery. But it's knowing that the events of life have transpired in life. And so you and I get to choose, should we desire to do so, to stop and ask ourselves, can we see good in life as a result of the multitude of the events of life that have transpired? I love how spirit brings to us, which we just talked about as unexpected good, things that remind us of our opportunity to see things anew. This last week, while I was away in a state of restoration, I began watching this series on Netflix called High on the Hog. It's a term I'm very familiar with from the South, and I don't know if you all are not, but it's talking about the cuts of meat on a pig and what is considered to be that which is worthy of consuming, and then that which is considered trash. And in this 5-part series called High on the Hog, this gentleman traces back through his ancestry. He's an African American gentleman, through his ancestry all the way back onto the continent of Africa and several countries there where the slave trade began, of looking at the elements of food that were taking place during the time, the 1600s, and the types of food that was brought with the slaves on those ships that have now become staples in the soul food of America, such as okra and black-eyed peas and a variety of ways to cook that. And this series is just incredibly rich in how it marries the history of what transpired, and once again, its most horrific ways, and done in the most beautiful way of blessing and honoring those that led this horrific life of slavery. But then of how they once were here in the country and living under the state of oppression again, of how oftentimes when the hog would be slaughtered at the time of winter, oftentimes so that it could be prolonged food during the winter months, that part of the food that was considered trash, that was low on the hog, would then be given to those that were enslaved. They were considered the throwaway parts. And the slave owners and those individuals were doing this out of great disrespect, and we'll leave it at that. Not knowing that the enslaved people who had come from a country where they were using the totality of the animals they had actually knew how to use these meats in a way to create very satisfying and enriching and wonderful meals, where they then were able to make the choice to create wonderful meals for those that they loved, their families and their loved ones. And it talked about in this series about the creativity and the innovation and the self-preservation and the dignity that they held of creating food for those that they loved. And it reminded me that even in the darkest of scenarios and situations, we each, as expressions of light, of beings of light, whether enslaved or not, and I'm not dignifying slavery, have the opportunity to hold ourselves high and to choose to engage in the good of life that exists, and then to share that, as these individuals did and was spoken of in this documentary or this series, with their loved ones. And so what it shows that, once again, even in the darkest of times, good is present. Now, I want to be really clear. I'm not saying that the means of slavery or any other tragedy or horror is justified. I'm just simply saying that in the context of knowing that these events transpired and the, once again, horrific experiences that transpired, that you and I have the ability to know that that's true, and as Dr. Maureen Hoyt teaches us, in living in the world of and, that we can see a new perspective. We can choose to see things anew. As we close out this month of the theme, Today is the Day, I want to remind us throughout this month, we've looked at the act of seeing today as the day, of declaring the day that we want to experience. It's already been addressed through the songs of faith in James, of us putting a declaration into the fertile soil of mind, of how we choose to show up and want to experience life as a result of that which we're choosing to express. But I want us to move beyond that, or build on that, and use a modern element of this Bible verse that says, today is the day that you have made, meaning the creator of life itself, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. As we choose to have this new perspective on Memorial Day 2021, I want us each to open ourselves up to Hear this and make this declaration that today is the day you, the creative force of life, have made, and I will choose to rejoice and be glad in it, no matter what's going on, no matter that we are still in a technological world for our worship and coming of together in community, no matter what's going on in the world where there's still conflict, no matter whether or not technology is being our friend in the moment or not, to stop and to be in gratitude for the day that has been created, and then to rejoice in it and be glad in it, knowing that the word joy means to bring in joy, to rejoice in the presence of the life force itself that exists within you and I, and the reality that we live in freedom, both literal freedom in the United States of America, but also spiritually free. Because the term rejoice means to cause joy. And we know that joy is a quality of the divine, along with peace and power and beauty and light and life and love and wisdom. And it's a quality of this power itself, the power of life, that we are each imbued with. And then by using the acronym for joy that I have, just open yourself, so we can just open ourselves up to a greater experience of the thing, this thing called life within us, by choosing to use our mind in a way to see things anew and to create a new perspective in regards to not only Memorial Day and the soldiers and the slaves and all aspects of being, but we can do that in regards to our ancestry. We can do that in regards to the suffering. We can do that to all that has transpired to get us where we are today. There have been times in my life that I looked back on those days playing the tuba, if I must be completely transparent with you, in the Jonesboro Junior High School band at the Civil War Cemetery. When I was experiencing it, it was great joy for me at the time. But as I continued to maneuver through my life and have moments of discord in that environment, I looked back on that in a really bad way. It had bad memories. But now I've chosen to see things anew from the perspective of letting healing make itself known through me, so that I'm not enslaved by the baggage of old ideology. I want to share with you some components of ancestry that we talked about in our class recently that I think puts in perspective for us the opportunity to see things anew. This is a great little piece called Ancestral Mathematics, and it's this. And I want you to hear it closely. In order to be born, you and I, of course, needed two parents. And we're not talking about the physiological aspect of the parenting, we're talking about the biological component. In order to be born, you needed two parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, 16 second great-grandparents, 32 third great-grandparents, 64 fourth great-grandparents, 128 fifth great-grandparents, 256 sixth great-grandparents, 512 seventh great-grandparents, 1,024 eighth great-grandparents, 2,048 ninth great-grandparents. For you to be born today from 12 previous generations, you and I needed a total of 4,094 ancestors over the last 400 years. Take that in. You and I, to get where we are, to be here alive and awake on this planet today, we needed 4,094 ancestors that contributed to the biology propagating itself in cellular form that is for you and me to show up here today. That's the numerical component of it. But let's take a moment and think of this. How many struggles, how many battles, how many difficulties, how much sadness, How much happiness? How many love stories? How many expressions of hope for the future did our ancestors have to undergo for us to exist in this present moment? It's almost incomprehensible, right? Yet, we have the capacity and the ability to comprehend it in a way that gives us an opportunity to choose a new perspective, to choose a new way of showing up in the world, of being grateful for every single thing that has transpired for us to get where we are today. Both the suffering and the sadness and the happiness and the love stories and the struggles and the battles, the darkness and the light. Happy Memorial Day. Does it take on any meaning now? The great teacher Pema Chodron tells us on our journey of finding enlightenment, finding our spiritual awakening, and so creating personal self-empowerment. She goes, it's not moving to the light that creates enlightenment. It's moving through the darkness that creates enlightenment. Today we have the opportunity to create a new focus and to create and appreciate the darkness that has transpired so that we can then also see the light. And so today I invite us all to focus in a new way, to focus on the powerful, euphoric, magical, synchronistic, beautiful parts of life, this thing called life, Ernest Holmes writes. And then to remember that the universe will keep giving them to us because that's the way it works. Think of that mathematical ancestry that I just shared with us. It was a lot of euphoria and magic and synchronistic, beautiful parts of life that unfolded to get us here. And so let's continue to focus on these powerful, euphoric, magical, synchronistic, beautiful parts of life and know that the universe will keep giving this to us. And it's in this context of all that has transpired, you and I can choose to have a rejoiceful Memorial Day. We can choose to be present in life in a new way, in a new state of mind, and honoring our ancestors and those who fought and those who died. Well, how do we do that? How do we honor all of those ancestors so that we be able to continue to live this blessed life of freedom? Well, we do it by using our freedom to choose to leave this world better off than we found it. I'm going to repeat that. We do that by choosing to use our freedom to leave the world, all of it, better off than how we found it. And we do that through a continual realization of what, you might ask. Here's what Ernest Holmes tells us to do. He says that we're here to realize that God, this power, this life force, is ever present, ever available. And it's to know that all the wisdom and the intelligence and the power of the universe is right where we are. That intelligence, that wisdom, and that power was right where our ancestors were as well. And so it's important for you and I to remember today that our physical freedom is of vital, vital importance. But the most precious freedom is our inner freedom. Deepak Chopra tells us that there's a spiritual concept that seems to create a good deal of confusion. It's this. It goes by the name of freedom or liberation. both terms referring not to political freedom, but inner freedom. The reason that freedom has a spiritual meaning is that a state of total freedom is possible. The conclusion arises because at first glance we already feel free inside, most of the time at least. Our thoughts and feelings are our own. We can be persuaded, of course, to change our minds, but in the end, we decide for ourselves. He goes on to tell us that the most important way to live in freedom is to do so in spontaneity. To not live life from a state of being self-suppressed or oppressed or expecting things to be as they always were, but to be open to the spontaneity of this creative force within us. And the greatest way to experience this spontaneity is to be open to a new perspective. And so you and I have the opportunity today to work on our consciousness, our state of mind, and to work with it in a way that we don't function at the level of the problem or choosing history to be in a state of disdain and disapproval and unhappiness, but to hold that idea while also choosing anew. Ernest Holmes tells us that what we're here to do is to work with your consciousness until it ceases to function on the level of the problem and begins to function on the level of the answer. It is mathematically certain that your problem will be solved if you do this. You may not find this the easiest thing in the world to do, but even though it may be difficult at times, one must never permit themselves to be discouraged, for the reward is certain. And so today, I invite us all to live out the lyrics of the Faith Rivera song, This Thing Called Life. And they're this: today's the day that I'll change my luck, for I'll find 3 pennies and they'll be heads up. I'll walk like a queen in my tennies and jeans, 'cause I know where I come from. From the stars and the sun, from that magical one, I am part of this thing called life. From the known to the unseen, everything in between, I am part of this thing called life. I am one with this thing called life. Yeah, today is the day I'll remember to see only good, only God happening through you and through me. I will not forget all the treasures due me, because I know where I come from. Where you come from is, yes, the stars and the dust and all of the cosmology of life itself. But you and I also come from our mathematical ancestors. And so as we move about this Memorial Day in the year 2021, and if we feel so compelled to be with our chosen loved ones, and we get to eat barbecue or hot dogs or hamburgers or a tofu burger, whatever it may be, let's do so remembering of the mystical, magical, euphoric state of life that is at our disposal. We access it through our mind. Happy Memorial Day. Thank you. And I'd like to welcome back our beloved Faith Rivera.
Did you hear me screaming, going, yes, yes?
I didn't, but I'm open to it.
I think everybody is. Rev Keith, you picked the perfect song, because I'm going to share for you a song called Freedom and Peace, and it was inspired by my complete irritation over a classic book called Waiting for Godot. And these 2 characters, Gogo and Pogo, I didn't know why they pressed on me so much, but they just sat there in their darkness waiting, like powerless. And it reminded me of my story and I guess my ancestors. Yes, they gave me music and my light, but also as a kid, so much fear. And my song will talk about that, the darkness, exactly what you're talking about. But I decide by the before the chorus, I decide that I'm at choice. Everything that I get to change the storyline. So this is in celebration and honor of, yes, our veterans, our ancestors, and us continuing the story forward, evolving to that
Beautiful.
freedom and peace. Okay, so everybody, I can't see you, but everybody go freedom and peace. Okay, so here we go.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm very inspired. Okay. As a child, I would lay awake at night. Oh, my mind was filled with darkened things. In my eyes were the tears of all mankind, so blind to all our wrongful deeds. Futile like go-go I felt, waiting for some good talk. But the answer lies not in a saving hand of grace, but in our balancing. Oh, I'm talking about freedom from the fear that holds us back. Freedom from the hate that keeps us down. Freedom, oh, to love without no bounds. Freedom, freedom and peace, yeah. So that's your part. Freedom. As a child, I would lay awake at night. Oh, my whole sky was filled with unknown things. Oh, yeah. But in my mind, still the fears of all mankind. And we are all so blind to what our lives could be. Futile like go-go I felt, waiting for some good talk. But the answer lies not in some saving hand of grace, but in our balancing. Oh, I'm talking about freedom from the fear that holds us back. Freedom from the hate that keeps us down. Freedom, oh, to love without no bounds. Freedom, freedom and peace. I said freedom from the lunacy in the night. Freedom from the violence in the streets. Freedom to seek the truth within our hearts. Freedom, freedom and peace. This is the time we break through that storyline, right? Futile like go-go I felt, waiting for some good talk. But the answer lies not in some saving hand of grace, but in our balancing. Oh, I'm talking about freedom from the fear that leaves us back. Freedom from the hate that keeps us down. Freedom, oh, to love without no bounds. Freedom, freedom and peace. We send freedom from the lunacy in our minds. Freedom from the violence in the streets. Freedom to seek the truth within our hearts. Freedom, freedom and peace. Give me just a little freedom. Give me just a little peace. I'm asking for a little freedom. Just a little bit of peace. Hey, for a little freedom. Hey, and a little peace. Oh, just a little freedom. Freedom and peace. Thank you,
I
guys.
love it. Fantastic. What a great song. Freedom and peace. All right, live in freedom and peace.
I wrote
And
it
my
for you.
acronym, say what?
It's like I wrote it for your talk.
I know. Well, my intuition told me it was right when we were doing rehearsal. So, right? And so, Faith, just so you know, my acronym for peace is Purposeful Energy Activates Conscious Evolution. So there we go. There we go. A big thank you to Faith Rivera, everyone. Let's give her a big virtual round of applause and mahalo and love to you. Much, 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 much thank you. And so now is the time we have the opportunity to live in freedom and peace and support our community financially through the act of conscious giving. And so I'm going to put on the screen the way for us to do that. And I say that, and here we go. All right, here we go. Yes. And so our options to support us financially are that we can all go to the website, csl-la.org, and click on donate, to our app in the App Store, which is the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles, and click on the upper left bars and the screen will come up and you'll see the donate tab, or you can mail in a check. Our address is as follows: 1200 North La Brea Avenue, West Hollywood, California 90038, or you can call me. My phone number's on the screen and I can handle it privately. All of these options are on our website, so please feel free to go there, as long as you will find out there how you can receive our weekly e-newsletter. And so as we all take a moment to give, James will come on the screen and take us through her conscious giving song called Love Is My Decision. Please follow and sing along.
Love is my decision. It's up to me to give up my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And once I decide to change my mind, Source will show me how. Love is my decision, right here, right now.
Love indeed is my decision. So I affirm for us, good continues to be made known by means of us as we choose to consciously give and propagate good in our lives. Blessings are abundant and we participate in them consciously. We say together, and so it is. So this week, our weekly meditation picks back up this Wednesday morning at 8:30. Feel free to join us for that. It's a wonderful time to come together for 30 minutes max to be led on a guided meditation to keep ourselves anchored in what we know ourselves to be as conscious beings of light on this planet. It's a Zoom call and you don't need to turn your cameras on. So know that we don't have to see you in the mornings unless you want to be seen. Those of us that want to be seen, typically, not that we want to, but are seen, show up in a baseball hat and a sweatshirt. So know that you don't have to be coiffed and ready. But just feel free to join us. You can also find access to previous meditations through our website, csl-la.org, and our app in the App Store. My final class of the class series, The Journey of Awakening, takes place this Wednesday evening at 6:30. So feel free to avail yourself of that if you haven't and you'd love to hear the wrap up of this class series. It's been a fantastic series. And that takes place this Wednesday evening from 6:30 to 8:30. Also, that's done via Zoom. And so want to remind you that the weekly text or the daily text goes out each day at 7:30 in the morning called A New Thought for the Day. I hope you're enjoying those and receiving them. And if not, and you'd like to, you can reach out to me or reach out through our website and we can add you to that list, and anyone else you'd like to do that. That's also posted on our social media sites of Facebook and Instagram. And you can find our meditations also on our YouTube channel and previous talks. A big thank you to all of you for being here today as we've moved through the little bumpy natures of technology, but being able to come together and share in this technological space, either from Hawaii with Faith with us today, from other people throughout the country on the homeland here. And just know that it's a real honor to be with you on your journey of finding your personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening. And being with you certainly provides a space for me to find mine as well. For at the end of the day, we're all one together. And so I'm going to close in a meditation. And after I close in meditation, we'll be able to turn our cameras on and just say a brief hello and ask any questions or comments that we'd like to share together. May your holiday be one that is blessed as we continue to go through life and enjoy and remember tomorrow as we celebrate this day all of our ancestors. And so as we close today, let's all take a deep breath in together and exhale. choosing to go a bit deeper into our psyche and our soul, we inhale again and exhale. And so as I state these words, I invite you to hear them for yourselves. Today is the day that I am renewed. For today is the day that I am restored. Today is the day that I choose gratitude for not only my journey, but the journey of all of my ancestors, specifically honoring those mathematical ancestors right now. Today is the day I say thank you to those who fought and died for my physical freedom. Today is the day that I say thank you for all who journeyed, whether it was a pleasant or horrific one. And shared their good. Today is the day I forgive myself for any transgressions I've placed upon myself. For today is the day that I begin anew. And today is the day I honor my internal spiritual freedom. And today is the day that I allow spontaneity to spark within me. An engagement with the creative force of life in a new way. For today is the day I engage in this thing called life in a new way. As we inhale and exhale. Letting it be as we say together, amen, and so it is.